For your time this morning.
Good morning, Ali.
You were previously resistant to subsidising wages like what we're seeing in New Zealand, the UK and Canada. What's changed and how will it work?
Well, the first thing is actually we did announce a wage subsidy for 117,000 apprentices in our first stimulus package with a up to 50% wage subsidy because we wanted to keep them in a job. We've also announced a very significant enhancement of the safety net with effectively a doubling of New Start with the new Job Seeker Coronavirus Supplement, as well as providing up to $100,000 to small businesses based on their payroll to keep more Australians in a job. So we've announced a number of significant measures, but we'll continue to build on that with a further announcement today about income support. We're not adopting the UK system, we're going to have an Australian system, and we're going to have one which is based on existing tax and welfare system mechanisms, because that's really important in getting money to people as quickly as possible.
Okay, so the devil is in the detail here. There seems to be some debate in the papers, as you'd know this morning, from various people on whether or not it's businesses who'll pay the wage and then get reimbursed. How will it all work?
Well, Karl, you'll have to switch on later today, but the key point here is we want to keep the employer and the employee formally connected because we know there's going to be the other side to the coronavirus, and we want businesses to bounce back stronger than ever. So by having people still connected to their employer, that will help that recovery phase, as well as obviously through this process providing increased incentives for people to stay in employment. So we're very much focused on those twin objectives.
All right, AMP's chief economist Shane Oliver was on our program just a short while ago. This is what he had to say.
So I think it's best to just get this out of the way, take the hit to the economy in the short term, and then once it's under control, and that period of getting it under control would come faster, then we could go back to normal, and the long-term damage to the economy and to Australians' lives will be a lot less. So
again, in regards to a little bit of division inside the business community, and these are senior business community leaders, in terms of whether or not we shut down now completely in order to rebuild in a month or two. The only problem with that is we don't know how long it's going to be, right? What do you think about that, him saying lock it down?
Well, we're in for the long haul, and there's some very challenging days ahead for the whole country, but we can only take the best possible medical advice to us, Karl, and that is saying that we should continue to put these restrictions in place. Last night the Prime Minister announced changes to the number of people who can engage in public gatherings, and obviously the best advice to people is to stay in their home other than for doing some other essential things like visiting the pharmacy and getting the health support or to the supermarket.
Even from an economic point of view, he's saying let's lock it down now.
Well, I think from an economic point of view, it's important to support businesses who need to remain open to stay open. And it's important to provide that support to employees as well to get to the other side. Karl, what Australians are learning through this crisis is that the government has their back. Whether it was the health initiatives announced yesterday for telehealth and mental health, whether it's the support for small businesses with cash payments and loans, or whether it's the doubling of the safety net and effectively the New Start payment, or today's announcement about foreign investment restrictions being tightened so that the national interest is protected, that's all about the government having the public's back.
Can you just give us a little bit more information on this foreign policy, investment policy? I mean, is this to crack down on overseas raiders, and is that something that's happening now?
Well, we want to stop predators who are acting against the national interest. So we want to have the scrutiny and the visibility over all foreign investment proposals, regardless of their monetary value. Right now, there's a $1.2 billion threshold, which applies to countries where we have a free trade agreement with. This is about not one particular country, but about ensuring that the national interest is enhanced, and that's why we've announced these very strong measures today.
So this is not about Chinese companies?
This is not about one particular country. It's about the national interest, and when you consider what is in the national interest, it's obviously national security grounds, it's the character of the investor, it's competition issues, it's tax issues, and that is what I, as the Treasurer and the Foreign Investment Review Board, will assess every foreign investment proposal against.
There doesn't seem to be anyone else mentioned when we say crackdown. It's mainly Chinese.
Well, there's been applications from other countries that has been blocked in the past, and we'll continue to assess it on a case-by-case basis. But these are extraordinary times, Karl, and as you can imagine, many companies are doing it very tough. They've seen their market values reduced significantly, and that's why we've abolished the thresholds.
It's so hard. It's so hard for small businesses right now.
It's very
to
tough.
keep their doors open with little income or no income coming in, and still having to pay wages, still having to pay utilities, still having to pay rent.
But that's why, Karl. But that's why, Karl, we've adopted this hibernation strategy. Whether it's the discussions with the banks, which have led to a very significant announcement from them today, that if you have a loan under $10 million and you're an SME, you won't be having any interest or principal payments for the next 6 months. Whether it's the work that we've done with the energy retailers, with the insurance companies, the ban on evictions or the moratorium on evictions if you're a tenant in either a residential situation or a commercial and retail situation, you're affected by the coronavirus, and together with the wage-related announcement we'll make today. This is all about having the public's back, getting them to the other side in what are extraordinary times.
Okay. Josh, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it as always.
Good to be with you, Karl.
Okay, thanks.
Well,